Hey guys, welcome to Brickstars. In this video, we're going to be creating our own completely new Lego castle faction. So there's a lot of Lego castle factions out there and throughout history. We're going to try and make one that's unique in design, that has some distinct colors, some interesting lore to go along with it, and we want it to tie in with existing Lego factions. So looking at the factions, let's start with the Yellow Castle. This is one of the original Lego Castle sets, and this is where they really started to introduce the different symbols, shields, kind of different, if you will, nations, countries, knights, whatever you want to call it. In the Lego world, they're referred to as factions. So not only did they introduce those four, shortly after that, they introduced the Lion Knights Castle, which you can see, we're starting to see branded knights. They kind of have printed torsos, their own color schemes, the different flags and shields that are in different colors but represent that kingdom. So really cool to see that they've started to include factions as part of the Lego world. And then throughout the 80s and 90s, we actually saw even more Lego factions appear. So from the Forestmen, the Black Falcons, Black Knights, Dragon Masters, Royal Knights, Lion Knights, all sorts of different knights started to appear. And what's really interesting too is you can see here in this small corner that they started to brand the individual factions with other elements. So these particular Dragon Knights had the yellow and gold shield with the green dragon, and their torsos were slightly different. So it's not always just a copy and paste from the shield onto the torso. So that's something that we're keeping in mind with our redesign as well. Someone on the internet tried to put together kind of a family tree of Lego castle shields and symbols throughout history. So you can see those original Yellow Knight, Yellow Castle shields there. And they've kind of tried to almost link it like a family tree. So the Lion Knights have evolved to the Royal Knights and the new Lion Knights, and of course most recently with the Lion Knights Castle, they've kind of brought back some of those original symbols but updated them. And they've done that a couple times. You can even see with the Black Falcons here, this new Black Falcon shield is obviously very reminiscent of the original. But the point of seeing this is that Lego's chosen a lot of different animals and symbols for their castle themes, and we wanted something that's going to tie into this family pretty nicely. The challenge for us was, again, unique colors, have an interesting symbol, match the Lego style, and have some lore. So when we look at colors, you can see here the green and brown. Right away we think of the Forestmen. When we look at blue, yellow, red, we think of the Lion Knights. So we want to make sure that the colors that we choose are also unique. When it comes to symbols, Lego often uses old heraldry symbols. So the deer, the lion, a griffin, they really stay true to kind of medieval European symbols. And then the style that Lego uses, you can see they're always a little cartoony, simple, bold colors. And the lore. So here we have the Forestmen. They're kind of seen as the Robin Hood, jolly forest folk. The Black Falcons are some brave knights, and you can see in their armor they have a lot of chainmail. And then there's sometimes fantasy castle characters like the Batlord here. And he's kind of got an evil, misunderstood look about him. So the faction that we create, we want to give them their own identity and personality as well. Starting off with the colors, we chose dark green and dark red, almost like a crimson. We thought these colors were pretty unique. They're not the typical blue and red that you see, or gold and blue, something that isn't really common in the Lego world. And especially when you pair it with black and kind of this off-white cream color, we think this is a pretty unique color palette, something that can be, regal, but also more foresty as well. So it kind of captures a bit of both. And to add to that, we wanted to split the colors in a unique way. So the shield design is not just a simple color, it's actually a diagonal split of the green and red. And Lego's done things like this in the past as well. So the Lion Knights obviously split the colors down the middle. A lot of shields just use a simple color with a border, but they've also experimented with checkered colors as well. So we think this is a unique feature that makes our faction stand out a little bit. Then we look at the symbols. So oftentimes medieval symbols used these animals: a lion, a deer, a wolf, and you can see how epic they look here. It's no surprise that medieval knights and Lego would use these symbols in their branding. You can see here they have a wide variety of different animals showing up, and we're especially fans and wanted our faction to tie in with some of these more classic looking shields. Lego's obviously done a lot of collectible minifigure series and other themes that use kind of more modern looks, but we wanted ours to look as if it was one of the original Lego Castle factions that maybe throughout history they've released a couple times and updated. So you'll see soon, hopefully we achieve that. Looking at these, we chose the bear. Now the bear is an animal that hasn't appeared a whole lot in the Lego world, but it has appeared in some instances. So with the collectible minifigure series, we see the Tournament Knight here. He features this angry red-eyed bear, but also in the Knights Kingdoms line, they had the bear face on a couple shields. So it's not an animal that's new, but definitely an animal that's underutilized compared to different birds, or of course the Forestmen deer and the Lion Knights lion. And our kind of thing with these is they all remind us of the Vancouver Grizzlies, Memphis Grizzlies NBA logo. So that front-facing, very animated grizzly face, we wanted to go a different direction. So we spent a lot of time designing our own bear, and we ended up with this. This is almost like a very traditional European style herald designed bear. So the black color, obviously very bold and sharp, and we think it's paired very nicely with the cream. And overall the silhouette is very distinct, and the fur on the bear we think is a nice touch. So we think this ties in nicely with the Lego design. And when we put everything together, so the shield, our bear, and in this case we actually added another element as well, this green clover. We'll get into that in part 2 when we talk about our minifigures and the lore of this faction, but we wanted something a bit more unique. Usually Lego will use one symbol for their shield, so whether that's a deer head, a bull head, but we wanted to give it that extra little bit of history or lore, and that's where the clover comes into play. So when we put everything together, you get this nice looking shield with the bear in the middle and that clover in the corner that just kind of makes you wonder, what is that? What is the symbolism of that? And we have some lore that we've made up that we'll touch on in a future video. So we think it turned out pretty good. And then putting in a large crest, the Black Bear Knights. This is what we would call this faction. And let's see how it lines up with some of the other factions that Lego's had. So here you see the array of different shields that we're kind of benchmarking ourselves against. And honestly, I think it ties in pretty nicely. It's maybe a bit more detailed than some of them and not as cartoony, but it matches the regalness of the Lion Knights, and it has kind of that boldness of the Wolf Knights and a little bit of that kind of woodland vibe that you get in the Forestmen. So overall, we're pretty happy with the look, and we do think the colors are distinct for the Lego Castle world. Of course, no faction is complete with just one shield in our opinion, so we wanted to add a couple other shields that if Lego was to release a wave of Black Bear Knights, which we would love, they would have some special shields. So whether that's maybe the King's kind of more elaborate shield, or maybe there's a special division within the army that has this shield, we think it would be great to expand the Black Bear brand to those elements. And of course, any castle would need a flag. So With this flag, we've kind of kept the diagonal split of colors, the bear clearly on there, and then that touch of cream all around we think looks pretty sharp. So that's the design of our black bears. We're going to give you a little sneak peek at the next video we're going to do, where we redesign a full array of black bear knight minifigures. And we hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments below what you think of our redesign and what you'd like to see in terms of minifigures. And thank you again so much for watching and for subscribing to this channel. We'll see you next time.